maybe it'll point you in the right direction.
Exactly, and we are off. Okay, so we have 2 of our runners in Sanctuary and 2 in Link's house. Was that blue mail?
That was blue mail.
Well, that's a wonderful item to find right off the bat. All right, so we already had a map check. It looked like there was 2, or were there 3 crystals?
It looks like 2 crystals.
Yep.
Crystal in Eastern and a red crystal, so a 5/6 crystal in Desert, and a red pendant in Hera.
Excellent catch. So that's a nice early thing to find. More crystals in the light world is always a good thing. So the tree pulls a full magic meter. That's actually a very important thing to know. It's one of the easiest ways to get full magic right at the start of the game.
That's very useful to remember depending on what first weapon we possibly might get. If it's something magical like the fire rod, ice rod.
So we had a check of the lumberjack cave, and I think that might have been the shovel.
Yeah, that's the shovel. So Aghanim 1, possibly not required. It depends.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one because, I mean, it only opens up one location, but who knows how important that one location could be. Alright, so it looks like after our initial 2 runners did the quick escape, they've both gone to Sanctuary and are now following our top 2 runners as they head off through Lost Woods. And then down. Well, there's the fire rod.
Just like I was saying, that full magic pull from the tree, very important if you get a magic item as your first weapon.
Sorry, ice rod. I missed the colors on that. But yeah, that is really useful to have that full magic with the ice rod. Alright, so other than that, it looks like escape, our runners only found a heart container. So not a whole lot going on there. And 3 of our runners have a bomb, which is very important for a Kakariko. Rayskin Ledge only has a piece of heart, so we won't be seeing that again.
Walter, being the only player without a bomb, is the first one into Kakariko Village proper. Ooh, Kane.
Well, Kane's a really... and the Moon Pearl, jeez.
Thieves are stacked, and the book. Unfortunately, can't check the back room. We'll have to come back later once they either buy or find a bomb. Pick up somewhere. I bet they were hoping to find a bomb in one of those 4 chests, and found a lot more useful goodies there.
Yep, Gem just found hammer in the back of the bar. So Kakariko's stacked today. So with Hammer and Moon Pearl, we're actually really close to having access to the Dark World already. And the flute! It's down in Well!
The most useful place for the flute to be is in Kakariko Village. Just I say it's Stackariko Village, because it's pretty stacked.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is an absurd amount of items for our runners. Walter even managed to find some bombs too, so he won't have to buy them quite yet. It looks like everyone else, or the top 2 runners anyway, elected to buy bombs.
And Bottle Merchant has bombs. It's like, oh, you want bombs? Here's have some bombs.
Yeah, man, Kakariko is just providing for our runners. Yeah, so Kane, not useful early on, but a very important item for later in the game. That's always great to find. With Book, we can get into Desert Palace. Hammer is our first real weapon. And Flute, we have mobility. Like, this is everything you could possibly hope for. Just about. Alright, so as our runners here activate their flutes, there's a lot of interesting decisions as to where you want to go next.
Yeah, you can flute down south. Instead of having to walk there and do the southern portion of Hyrule, you could flute, where is it, up to Death Mountain and do that little half area there with the old man and Spectacle Rock. Flute over to Desert and clear out that basic area. It's the world is wide open at this point, and it's going to be interesting to see if they stick to the usual path of going back to save quit to Link's house and heading down south that way, or if they decide to fly places.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see if anyone decides to go into Desert early. They don't have gloves or to be able to get into the back, and they don't have the fire source to do the boss, but they can still do most of the front half, and getting the book so early just makes you kind of wonder, is the sea telling us to go there?
Yeah, hopefully they can do the front half, because they don't have boots, and it could be key locked.
Yep, that's true. And that's the gamble with going in there. You just don't know until you're inside. That looked like the cape to me inside a library. Or what is that? I am absolutely failing to recognize that.
Red boomerang.
Ah, okay.
Lot smaller than the cape, but still red.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
All right.
Farame heading over to the desert area, gonna pick up that check on what the desert ledge was. Didn't seem to be anything interesting, and head over to Agina's hideout. Gem went over to Eastern.
Yep, we got our first check of Chunky Salsa's hut. Not much in there, though. And now he's at the south side as well. And Furium gets the first sword in Agina's cave. That's a really useful thing to find. And it's probably going to be a while before our runners head over there with them doing South Shore like this.
Yeah, it could be a while, but it could also be pretty soon, just if they want to clear out those early areas and they have the mobility to do so. If they were just walking everywhere, then maybe they wouldn't be as inclined to do so.
Well, at the very least, they'll have an easier time with Mini Moldorm Cave than some of our runners are currently having.
Speaking of Mini Moldorm Cave, Korek picking up the gloves there, lift upgrade.
All right, and so we already have Dark World access with that. So you want to talk about the game being open? Oh boy.
So many different strategies in this Mini Moldworm Cave, between Ice Rod and Cane of Samaria, and then just exploding them with bombs.
Yep, with the items our runners have, bombs might be the fastest, but it's also probably the trickiest to pull off. Korek's gonna get his Sarasala's hut check. But man, with so many options available to our runners, it's actually kind of hard to choose where you want to go next.
And I think Korek was the only one to talk to Sarashtrala and get the hint that Ice Palace has the green pendant.
Well, that's a nice thing to see. Ice Palace is a dungeon you love to skip if at all possible. And if you can't skip it, you hope that you can just go straight to the boss. It's a slow one to clear.
I always tend to get lost in it, which makes it even worse. But these runners are good. They shouldn't get lost in Ice Palace, if they do decide to head there.
And Chem finds the boots up in Ice Rod Cave. With the flute, he does elect to go check up there, and boy does it pay off. And Furium is actually fake flippering. He's currently up in Waterfall. So Walter also found the boots, so only two of our runners actually have boots right now, and Korek's in the Dark World already. Oh, and there's Walter. Alright, so the final pendulum is in Mothula, in Skull Woods.
Other 5-6 crystal is down in Mire.
And Hype Cave has the bow.
Can I get some hype?
Yeah, that's super. Super useful. So let's see. With bow and hammer, we can now do pod if you don't mind some dark rooms. Same with Eastern Palace. Let's see here. Thieves Town's fully open. It's actually almost easier at this point to say what isn't fully open.
I know, it's we're 10 minutes in and the world is our oyster. Zora just had a scam, by the way, a single arrow.
Yeah, in fact, actually, at this point, really the only place that's probably not a great place to go is Death Mountain. Alright, so it looks all of our runners are now already in the Dark World, so it looks like there was an agreement with all of them that the item density in the Dark World's probably the best place to go, even though they don't really have that much health.
Yeah, at least they can do a bunch of the overworld checks, which again, item density, they're going to be a lot there, it's open, and possibly eventually swing around to, oh, red mail in the digging game. That'll definitely help in terms of Dark World survival.
Yeah, with 5 hearts, but with red mail, that's actually plenty to be doing Thieves Town, even if you're not 100% confident with the blind fight.
Not much in the tail end of escape area, unfortunately. It looks like Walter's going to make an assault on Eastern, possibly, since he didn't do that area already, and is heading over to Sarashil and already has the bow. So Korak also doing a fake flipper and making the waterfall and Zora check. Probably not going to be too happy with what they find there. Gem also seems to be heading up that way. And yeah, Walther is in Eastern Palace, gonna clear that out. Finding our first bottle and the first chest at Eastern. Yeah, it looks like most people are going to head over to get that easy Eastern Palace clear at this point. With the bow and some other decent damage-dealing weapons. And it's a crystal, too. Might as well get it out of the way instead of waiting until you can reliably do pod and do it back-to-back that way. And of course they don't have the mirror to do that in any case. Gem heading in the escape a little bit here, visiting the uncle since he didn't do that earlier.
Yep, and I am somewhat surprised that no one decided to head into pod first. there's there's a higher item density, and if you happen to find the mirror in there, well, then you're just immediately able to do both of them. Yes, the dark rooms are a little bit trickier, but they're not too bad. Though I guess, again, without a sword, it does make it a lot harder than the normal setups you do.
Right, yeah, with 3 out of the 4 players here not having a sword. It might just be, runner preference of tending just to go, oh, I can clear it, let's get this out of the way. Because it has, a few items in it, and I can definitely clear the entire thing, and I can do it in my sleep.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Consistency is important when you're doing these runs.
It's definitely a different mindset with these large qualifier or just, weekly type races. When you have a large number of opponents that you're racing against, you can't really either change your play style to match your opponent, so you just kind of go for what you're most comfortable with, is what I find.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it doesn't matter if you come in first. What matters is that you manage to get your average within the top 96, so you make it out of qualifiers.
So for AIM, doing our first check of a demonstration of a hint tile there. Hint tile in Eastern Palace said that Quake requires green pendant.
All right, Walter had a bit of a scare there getting the key in the dark room, but he's gotten it now. Yeah, if anything goes wrong in that first room trying to shoot the Igor, it's really frustrating to try to get that key. Ooh, only a map for gems, so doing the entirety of Escape not really paying off for him. Nice little cane stress by Walter there to quickly clear out all the little bush things.
Yeah, speeds it up versus smashing them all with the hammer.
And Gem now is also heading to Eastern Palace, so all 4 of our runners are going to be heading through Eastern Palace as their first clear. An excellent boss fight from Walter. He has our first crystal at 1730. Alright, Walter, where do you go from here? The world's your oyster. Where are you going, Walter? Oh, did he not finish minis? Oh, that's interesting.
I remember him bombing the last.
Oh, okay, he's setting up the water
Oh, okay.
glitch. That makes sense.
That's a different method than what I have usually seen around here.
Yep, it's the fastest way to do it, though, if you're gonna if you're gonna set up that edge glitch so you can dash on the water later, if you've already cleared out Ice Cave. Waterlock, thank you, Chad. I was completely blanking on the glitch's name. Yeah, so when you dash right on an edge there, you set up this fun state called water walking, which once he jumps back in the water, you'll see he's now walking on top of it. Alright, so Furim, I think he's going to head right into Pod after having done Eastern. And I really like this. With 6 items in pod, it's a super good dungeon to clear early, especially if you're confident with having somewhat low HP, but having...
Yeah. I mean, 6 hearts, but they also have red mail, so it's a little bit of a toss-up.
Yep, and Furum also has the advantage that with the sword, doing the dark maze is quite a lot easier. Really, the only super tricky part is if he decides to actually get down to the boss when you get into the turtle room. That's a room I have never looked forward to doing in the dark. Ooh, and Korik, well, he was going towards pod, but thinks better of it and is heading elsewhere. Ooh, might he be the first one to step inside Desert Palace? It looks like it.
Yeah, can't completely finish it, but can get most of the way there. And hey, if he finds lamp or fire rod in desert, then it's right there. Just do it.
Exactly. Yeah, at this point, Fire Rod and Mirror are probably the 2 biggest, well, Fire Rod or Lamp. They don't technically need Fire Rod yet. But a Fire Source and Mirror are really the 2 biggest items our runners are looking for. They will need Fire Rod later, as Turtle Rock is a crystal.
Yeah, and after those 2, I'd say probably Hookshot and the glove upgrade from there would be the next most important. So they can start clearing out Death Mountain properly.
Yep. So not too much in Desert Palace right now.
Key in the first room there means that the right side isn't boot locked, which was good for in case Frame wants to head over there before finding them boots.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Though on the flip side, it'd also make it harder for him to find boots later if they're not actually needed here. And speaking of the mirror, look what was boots locked.
Yep. Welp.
Alright, so Kurik's the first to find the mirror, and now, with that being boots locked, we know that boots are actually required for the seed. So hopefully at some point here, Furum manages to find them, because everyone else has boots at this point. And Korek does decide to go up into Agina's cave, so he's going to be our second runner with a sword.
Yeah, might as well hit up this area while you're over here instead of having to come back later.
While this is happening, Gem's up in Skull Woods. That's a really interesting decision. It's a quick check for the first couple items, but it's also a crystal dungeon, or a pendant dungeon rather, so it's technically not required.
Yeah, pendant and also not beatable right now, considering Gem doesn't have fire rod or a sword to get into the back part, but, you know, might as well just check this first little bit and see if anything useful is over here.
Oh, that's a big bust for the front area. And he is getting bullied hard by mini Voltorms. Okay, Walter's also heading into the Dark World over there, and yep, he's also going to head up north into Skullwoods. Alright, so Furum's in the Dark Maze right now. This is a really important maze to be able to get through cleanly. Oh, and Kurik's up on Death Mountain. Oh, there's a sword in the back of Skull Woods. Alright, so now we know where 2 of our swords are.
And Dark Maze pays off with for him finding the Titan's mitts in the chest, big chest, in the chest there after the Dark Maze.
Yep, and then it looks like he successfully kills himself on the fireball spitters to death warp back to the entrance.
Yeah,
a little bit
'cause
faster with that red mail than trying to bomb yourself.
Yeah, and also, who wants to walk through the Dark Maze all over again, right?
Yeah, no, that's awful. Okay, interesting. So Kakariko did decide to go get that piece of heart in the ledge room so he could also check the telepathic tile. Because normally you would never actually go pick up just a piece of heart there.
Part of the new shiny version 30 strategy here. Not too useful to him because you already got the boots, so...
Alright, so Furium is going to try to do all of Pod in one go here, so... Coming up here is the really important turtle room. Hope he's able to knock that out. And so Korek, with that mirror, is up into Tower of Hera as our first runner in here. Not a whole lot of items. And it is also a crystal dungeon, so it'll be interesting to see if he... Or pendant. Goodness, I need to stop messing that up. We'll see if he decides to actually full clear it.
Yeah, it depends on what is found in terms of items before Moldorm, and the hint tile there. You can get some cash with the hook shot. Not something too useful to them.
Yeah, so it's interesting that he's continuing through. If you check just the first 2 chests and then immediately mirror out, it's basically just a nice quick little stop as you do the rest of Death Mountain. But he's going up to get the other 2 chests. Ooh, and that was a Bombos medallion in Thieves Town. Our first medallion pickup, actually. So we don't know yet which medallions we're going to need, but both Mystery Mire and Turtle Rock are going to require something into them.
Yeah, I think the big one to look out for is Quake, due to it being locked somehow behind a green pendant.
Oh, interesting, yeah. Excellent catch there. That was from a hint tile. Alright, so Korek is going to go fight Moldorm. While 2 of our runners are currently in Thieves Town, and Purim is fighting his way through the dark basement of Pod. But he successfully gets through, so with 2.5 health, Purim is going to be fighting Helmasaur. An excellent fight from Korek using this hammer to get Moldorm down real quick. Alright, so Firm's on the second stage here, and this is a tricky one.
It does have a red potion, just in case.
Yep, but some excellent bow strats there to get that down. That is not a boss you want to have to walk back to. So while he does get his crystal down, those Titan's mitts are definitely the real big prize out of that dungeon.
Indeed.
Of course, he doesn't have the mirror yet, so he still can't full clear Dark Death Mountain. Yeah, this is real fun right now, how between all of our runners, we have a really good idea where almost all the important items are, but no one actually has all of the important items yet.
It's like putting, 4 different corners of the puzzle together, but not having the connector pieces between them.
Exactly. So Furim's going to check Misery Mire for us, so let's find out what medallion that is. Oh.
Oh, it quick.
Well, that's an exciting development. Oh, Half Magic's a nice find in Paradox Cave, not required, but... Oh, and the lamp! Our first fire source! Alright, that's a great find for Korak. Yeah, with that find, item-wise, he's actually probably the best off right now of all 4 of our runners. Yep, and he's headed straight off to Pod now, so he'll also find Titansmiths here, and he'll have a much easier time of it, because he has the... Now, Jem actually found the Master Sword, so I think that either dropped off of Blind or was somewhere late in Thieves Town.
Sword on blind. Thank you, chat. Heart face.
Alright, so that's our 3rd sword, actually. So if you find all 3 swords... So we know where Tempered is right now. Butter is the only sword that's actually hiding from us right now. And it looks like Jem's also decided that Pod is the play, though he'll of course have the slightly harder time as he does not have the lamp.
Oh, just looking at the items, Frame also got the flippers somewhere.
Oh, either he found that in one of the dark rooms with pods, so we wouldn't see it open, or he's found it doing the Thieves Town area check, and I don't think it's that, because no one else has it. Well, that's another very important reason to be heading inside a pod, because flippers are required for doing Swamp Palace. But yeah, just in case... So while this does seem like it's going to be a super fast jet seed, with Quake Medallion being hidden behind the green pendant, if our runners don't know that that's where it's hidden, this could be a real fun scavenger hunt for that.
Yeah, and even if you know that it's there, it's another dungeon you have to go through and get to the boss and defeat the boss and all that.
And it's also fun now, if I remember, the green pendant is in Ice Palace.
Yes, that's right.
So you actually end up with a really interesting decision there. Do you do the super fast runs, run straight to the boss, but you skip 3 items? But getting the 3 items is really slow because it's Ice Palace.
I think it depends on when you go there. Because if you're going there and you still need another item such that that's required for something, then you're probably going to be more inclined to do it. But if you save it for last, say like Misery Mire is going to be one of your last dungeons, then I'd say you might be more stacked up and have everything except Quake to get into Mire or something like that.
Yeah.
Also depends on what Turtle Rock needs too.
Yeah, Turtle Rock's really one of the other big ones too, because we still don't know where that fire rod is, and we also don't know what medallion's required. So 30 minutes in, all of our runners now have swords of some level. 2 fighter swords and 2 master swords. And I'm almost positive we've seen 3 of the sword locations, though with 4 runners to keep track of, it's a little hard to remember.
I know the one early sword is at Agina's cave, and there was one in Thieves Town from Blind.
Yep.
3rd one that I am blanking on.
Yeah, because Jem and Walter, one of them found a sword without heading to Agina. It's just where I don't remember where it was. So at this point, we have Furium heading back through Thieves Town while the rest of our runners are doing pod. So we're just kind of seeing the same stuff happening in reverse. The big winner here right now is Korek, who's actually already been up Dark Death Mountain and has the mirror, because he is the only one to have dipped into Desert Palace.
The third sword was in Skullwoods.
Right, yes, that's where both of them found.
And yeah, the hint that said, specifically said Quake is behind Green Pendant. That means Sarashula is holding it. Pedestal has a different text than that.
Yep, don't worry, chat. Ped is not dead quite yet.
Yeah, Ped might not be dead, but Quake is not on Ped.
Yep. And with the number of items we already have, it's certainly gone down in possibility. So yeah, just to recap, the two items that none of our runners have found yet that we need to find are Hookshot and the Fire Rod. Both of those have crystal dungeons locked behind them. But other than that, almost the entire map is open to us. And at this point, both of our runners are going to have pretty much knocked out all of the high-density locations available to them. So it'll be really interesting to see which dungeons they let go into next. For the rest of our runners, hopefully they dip into desert soon, because they really need to find that mirror.
Yeah, I'll have to see if they decide to do the dip into it without being able to finish it, or if they end up going and getting that lamp first, or waiting until they get lamp or fire rod to go over there and do it that way.
So logic-wise, it's actually interesting. The lamp is currently locked behind you dipping into Desert Palace, because without the hookshot, they can't get over to Paradox Cave without the mirror. Which is a real trolly set of circumstances for our runners.
Running the math through my head. Yeah, you're right. That's like oof plus ouch equals troll or something.
Yeah, that adds up to me. And I'm really having a hard time thinking of where Hookshot could possibly be that our runners have access to that isn't like Death Mountain. Or one of the dungeons they haven't delved into. I think we've seen pretty much everything else in the overworld at this point between one of our runners. So Furium is electing to do some of the fetch quests now. We're getting our blacksmith rescued.
Fetch quests are handy because you're doing progress to get a few items along the way, but you're also kind of, since you're taking a while to walk, especially for these ones here, the blacksmith and purple chest.
Yeah, it's especially rough for Furium because he's the only one of our runners who still hasn't found those boots.
Yeah, and it kind of gives you, what I was saying, it kind of gives you time to think while you're making progress. But just returning to the blacksmith and noping out of there and heading back to Dark World.
Yeah, and this is definitely a run that has not given our runners very much time to think. After finding so many items in the first 10 minutes, with so much of the world open to them, it's really hard to come up with a routing decision for that on the fly. Looks like Korek might decide to... Oh, he hasn't been into Thieves Town yet, so he'll probably be heading over there now. And Furin does the slow pay game.
More thinking time. Yeah, I bet he's really hoping to find those boots soon.
Walter just died somewhere, but I'm not sure if it was intentional or not.
Yeah, it looked like it was intentional because he got the lift
Yep.
upgrade and was in Dark Maze.
Yep, makes perfect sense then. Alright, so now we're going to get to see if Walter is going to be able to actually get his Helmosaur without the lamp. Alright, so what is in the purple chest today? Oh, just red rupees.
It's red, not the right item.
Nope. So both the fetch quests, pretty worthless. I think Furim's going to check the floating island for us. Just rupees. Alright, so Gem's not making his way inside of the Desert Palace. That's really good news for him. So he should be our second runner to find the mirror. I assume Firod hadn't checked Ice Rod Cave yet, so he's heading up there to get that. Walter's still fighting with some turtles.
I think he just bomb-boast a bunch after knocking a bunch over.
Oh, that's a really good strategy. Of course, now it looks like he's trying to hunt down the last one, which is such a pain.
And Frame did it! Got the boots. They're a little cold, but they fit.
Yep, so over 20 to 30 minutes later than some of his contemporaries. That really does hurt finding it this late. But he's had some very good routing otherwise, so he certainly is well within this, can definitely make up that lost time.
Yeah, other than finding boots late, he's on par in terms of crystal count with everyone else. Actually, he's ahead of everybody else for right now.
Yeah, because everyone else had some just slightly different routing for how they've done Thieves Town and Pod. Oh, so Gem's actually going to be our first runner now to find Tempered Sword. That's actually a pretty big advantage for him. The difference between Master Sword and Tempered is quite a bit for how quickly you get bosses down.
Yeah, one of the most important offensive jumps.
And that's to say nothing of how much faster Ganon is when you don't have to do spin strat.
Oh yeah, I haven't found silvers yet either, so...
Yep, Silverless Ganon, though, with Tempered is a pretty reasonable thing.
Yeah, I think at their play level, they're not going to be, like, specifically hunting silvers down or anything.
Definitely. So with Mir, he's now also heading up Death Mountain, so he might actually be the first one to get the full clear of Death Mountain in one go. Korek went up there without the Mir, I think.
Frame using some of the extra money to buy a bomb upgrade, something else that's been newly added in this version, and being the first one into Ice Palace, because I think, again, that hint, boots in a cold cave, yeah, he knows. But,
that's pretty rude.
Yeah, I think Frame is... I think he might have been the only one. I think might have been maybe 2 people that checked that about Quake being behind Pendant. Green Pendant?
Yeah, that is super, super important information to find, because otherwise you really wouldn't have a good reason to be heading into Ice Palace, especially this early. So Furim is showing off some of the fun strats you have to do to kill penguins when you don't have Tempered Sword or the hook shot. So Gem is also going to be getting our first check of Turtle Rock, what medallion we need for that. This is an important one. It's also Quake!
Oh no!
Wow. So for our runners that know they need to find Quake, that's a huge advantage. So Walter cleared up the Misery Mire shed that he could, and Kobrik's doing his fetch quests. Oh, Walter also picked up his Tempered Sword. So I think he either got a Genus Cave also, or there was another one hiding somewhere over there. And Gem showing off the fun fact that you can actually check one of these chests in Hookshot Cave with the boots. Oh, Gem. Yep, well, he tried the hover once and then said, nope, enough of that. Off I go.
Yeah, just giving it one go is a good shot.
Yeah, that would have been really, really sweet if that had worked out for him. Oh, so Furium actually confirmed with that hint tile he got there, confirms that you don't need to go into the basement of Hera, so that's a fun little thing to know. And an excellent bomb jump on one of the trickier ones in Ice Palace. So Walter's in here too, so this is really good news for him, but he's going to have a much easier time of this because he has his Tempered Sword and can actually kill the penguins.
Oh yeah, just nice one spin. Choom! Down they go.
Yep, so Gem is now going to find his lamp and the first light source for him. And Furium is definitely confirmed at this point he's doing the full clear Ice Palace. We'll see if Walter also decides to. That first chest is a pretty quick check regardless of whether or not you just go to the boss.
Yeah, so both Frame and Walter did see that the second hint tile that was just checked here. The fire rod requires the hammer. Now, requires the hammer is one of those hints that has a lot of options for it, and some of those are Ice Palace locations. So that's probably why they are deciding to completely clear out the area.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and they've already done a fair number of the hammer locations. Or at least we've seen them, whether or not these two have. Hammer Pegs doesn't need it, and nor does Pod, and nor does the chest in Thieves Town. Those all being hammer-locked locations. So yeah, there's a really good chance they're going to find it here on Cold Stare. So with Gem also heading into Ice Palace, it looks like the consensus is this is the place to be. So Korek's going to get his check of Misery Mire, and there's a good chance he'll just head right off into the desert because he can now full clear it with the lamp. Alright, so this will be fun out of Furum. He's got a much harder Cold Stare fight than his contemporaries. Let's see how he does with just the Master Sword. Oh, is he going to do hammer strats? Hammer strats are certainly faster, but that hitbox is really scary. Up, and they're already out of the corner. Alright, so this has gotten away from Furum. He does have a red potion, but he's got to be real careful here.
Okay, I think he did end up using the red potion there, and is now going to poke and smash these cloudy puffs. Thank
Yeah,
goodness
boy.
for red mail.
Oh, yeah, man, this is one of those times where you're super happy you have that. Under 10 hearts and just none of the right items to be doing this.
This hasn't been a healthy seed for as many places they've checked.
Yep, nope, typically when you find so many early items, the seed ends up being fairly low on health. Walter's also got to be careful, but he's already got one of the cold stairs down, 2 down. And Furim finishes this fight, and Walter finishes it just behind him, showing how much faster the Tempered Sword is. He started much later than Furim in this dungeon. Alright, but no Fire Rod there, so it's still going to be hidden elsewhere. Yeah, I wish I had a better knowledge of exactly which hammerlock locations that hint refers to, because there can't be very many left.
Yeah, judging from the little document that lists what they are, there's a lot of them that are Swamp Palace. Or Spite Cave is also a possible option, maybe. But I think Swamp Palace is probably their most likely choice at this point.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Alright, so we've got our Quake medallions now, and Furim is actually doing an escape. Unfortunately for him, we already know that there's nothing useful in the front part of it. The only thing we haven't seen is the one dark chest in the back of it. Yep, with Korek in here, all of our runners have now headed into Ice Palace within about 5 to 7 minutes of each other. Which again is crazy with just how open the seed has been, that our runners are again piling up on each other like this.
Well, they're showing off what a quick hammer pegs is like.
Yep, and Korek did the perfect bomb strats to kill those penguins. Oh no, this is interesting. It looks like Korek is gonna... That's an interesting... Okay, so he's also going to do the full clear. Just in a slightly different manner. So he must feel very confident with his bomb jump here. If you're not super confident with your bomb jump, you can check the one chest down the stairs to the left first and hope it has a key. But it is faster to just come and do this bomb jump.
Ice Palace, the dungeon of many routes.
Yeah, it's a fun one. And it's really interesting too because all of the routes through it have a very specific use case. There's the typical one you take, but because there's so many different items that affect it, you really just need to know all of the different places you can bomb jump. And Gem gets the super fast cold stair kill, trapping them in the corner. So this has been some really interesting routing from Gem, because Gem is obviously item-wise doing very, very well, but he still hasn't set foot in Pod. Whereas everyone else, that was the second dungeon they checked Orth, more or less.
No, Gem's been to Pod because Gem has the
Oh, he just didn't
flippers.
finish Pod.
Yeah, he didn't
right.
finish Pod. He bailed out on it.
Right, he decided he didn't want to do the, right, he just didn't do the boss because he didn't want to do the Turtle Room in the Dark, I guess. which is fair. Of course, it is a bit of a time. It does take a little bit of time to hike back there, but it certainly saves time if you're just not confident with getting through that dark room.
And also makes sense to head back there with mirror and whatnot to turn in that green pendant and get that quick.
Yep. Ooh, so Walter's giving us our first check of Spike Cave. This is going to be real tight. Red mail does not protect you against those spikes. And he has nothing else to protect himself with. Oh my goodness, that bomb jump to save him right at the end.
The bomb jump at the start and the bomb jump at the end is the fanciest way I have seen Spike Cave done.
That was incredible, and that's just displays such knowledge of the game too, because with red mail, that bomb only does half a heart of damage. Unfortunately, it ended up being just a piece of heart.
Yeah, fire rod could have possibly been there because that is a lock behind hammer location, but unfortunately, no. But just 10 out of 10 on the fancy for that.
Yeah, that was incredible. I've seen a lot of Randomizer, and that's the first time I've ever seen that done. That was a fantastic strategy. Alright, so Korek's doing his hammer cold stare fight. Looks like he's having a better time of it than Furium did.
Oh yeah, either got them onto the side faster or something.
But he's correctly going to not risk dying near the end of the fight and needs his red potion.
So Walter's heading back into Ice Palace? I wasn't keeping item counts in terms of chests opened or whatnot, but
yeah,
heading to some of the rooms that weren't checked.
I don't know what he would have skipped in here.
I didn't see Iced Tea Room. That's kind of one of those out-of-the-way ones.
Yeah, boy, well, whatever he ended up missing here, this is really costly for him. It takes a really long time to hike back through Ice Palace. Like, by far and away, this is one of the worst dungeons to have to walk back through. So Furium checked checkerboard. Checkerboard just had some rupees for us. So we're still hunting for that fire rod and also for that hook shot. At this point, you kind of got to feel that the hook shot just might be locked behind the fire rod.
Like, you could get the hook shot, fire rod, say, somewhere in Swamp Palace before a hook shot's required, and then have to go to, like, Mothula to get the hook shot.
Oh, that would be real fun, forcing them back into another one of the pendant dungeons. We've already had to do one for required progression, why not a second one? That's just the sort of logic that Randomizer loves to throw at our runners. Well, so Furium is decided that Tower of Hera is the next choice for him. And that does make sense, because he still hasn't found a fire source, so he can't really head into Desert Palace. Alright, but Korek's going to be our first person into Misery Mire. This could be a really important dungeon, while there's only 2 items. If there's progression in here, that would be huge for him. Excellent use of beam and the ice rod there to just quickly blast through that room. There's a
Yeah.
lot of fun little strats you can do in there to do it fast. Yeah, and it looks like you were right about Walther. He's finally found that last chest in Ice Palace. Of course, it was not useful for him, so that's a couple minutes you just lost having to do that check. Ooh, Moldorm claims a victim as Furium is knocked off the platform. Alright, so Walter's gonna get his mirror.
Everyone that's gone into desert so far hasn't been able to clear it yet, because everyone that's gone through hasn't had the fire source to do so yet.
Yep. Oh, Korik is gotten this real close here in Misery Mire, down to half a heart, and he has no healing available to him.
Also, depending on logic, it's possible that desert was a forced double dip anyway. This logic's been all over the place in this seed this time.
Yep, yeah, we started with a whole lot of items and a lot of great options, but as we start to get down to it, those last couple items are just really not revealing themselves. Okay, Furium is opening Turtle Rock, but will he decide to do the fairly risky dip into it without Fire Rod? Nope. Yeah, and away. It's certainly possible that progression could be in Turtle Rock, but it's real tough for it to be without having Fire Rod to actually agree to go in there. Just so much is locked behind it. And I see Chad is yelling at me that I have no idea how to pronounce Furium's name. Thank you for the correction. Alright, so heading off into the basement now with Korek. This is a pretty important last check for here. If there's an item on the boss, that would be a huge win for him. With Gem also deciding that this is the place to be. Alright, so Furium is gonna finally get his lamp. Leaving only Walther as the only runner not to have it, but as Walther is also heading up Death Mountain, he should find it in just a little bit, though he'll probably do Tower of Hera first if all of our other runners are any indication.
I also just now noticed that half magic was also in that cave this entire time.
Yeah, it's one of those items that's really fun to find, but the big useful locations for it, such as like doing Fire Rod Cold Stare, just not needed at this point. But it's always nice to have, and it does make certain things just a little bit quicker and just a little bit easier. Alright, so Korek's got to be doing Master Sword strats here. This is a tricky fight. No silvers. Takes 3 arrows per eye to kill them. But he does an excellent job there of avoiding the lightning.
Yeah, not too bad. Those eyes are also, what's the word? They're very helpful to him. They weren't scattering all over the place, and he got a lot of them at the start with the spins at the knock him down to health, so you only need like 1 arrow or so to get them.
Yeah, he did an excellent job there managing that fight. And with that, he actually takes the crystal lead, I think. Oh, Furium is actually going into Turtle Rock. Oh, this is exciting.
Alright, what could be in here?
Alright, he has the key. He can keep going. Yep, if he hadn't found a key there, this place would have been fire rod locked, but it's not yet. Korek, meanwhile, making the smart play to just immediately go get the next crystal available to him, and he's going to finish off Desert Palace super fast. In fact, I believe he'll also be our first runner to finish off Desert Palace.
Yes, indeed.
Well, only the blue cane in Turtle Rock, and without another key, Furium has to leave Turtle Rock.
So also, once Korek finishes Desert here, they'll be able to check Pyramid Fairy, and they'll have both those crystals.
Yeah, Pyramid Fairy is a very important check at this point. Outside of that, there's only a couple of locations that they haven't gone over to do yet. I don't think anyone's been up to Catfish yet. Alright, so Gem just a little bit behind Korek and heading up to his fight. But he's going to have a little bit easier time because he has more hearts and he also tempers. And you can see just how much faster that is when you're able to do it with just a couple of swings. Furium also heading into Misery Mire, and Walter's going to open up Turtle Rock for himself. It'll be interesting to see if he also decides to go in. But Korek's the one with the real exciting check right now because we're going to get to go see Pyramid Fairy. Tries to set up the damage dash that you're able to do while keeping the bomb, but doesn't quite get it.
You have to do it the little bit slower way to keep the bomb.
Uh-oh. So he was trying to dash into the pyramid screen, which would have kept the bomb on him. Unfortunately, that hit meant that he had to quickly improvise and mirror into the light world to keep it.
But hey, knowing that is a really good thing, though.
Yeah, we also actually haven't seen what was on Pyramid. Just some bombs. Alright, what do you have for us, Pyramid Fairy? Just about figures.
Meh.
But hey, maybe she'll have something good for the bottle. Nope. Just a bee. So it looks like he's now going to go do his escape, which I believe the rest of our runners have already done. Yeah, and Walther is going to do the Turtle Rock check. I love that our runners are willing to risk this. It's just unfortunate that it's not going to pay off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely so.
Ooh, but I think he... Now, I wonder if Kovarex is actually going to decide to go check the one chest in the back that none of us have seen yet. He's the only runner to actually have come in here with a light source, which makes that a lot easier to actually check.
And with the way Gem is heading, I believe we're finally going to make a dive into Swamp Palace.
Yeah, that's a good point. With flippers and mirror, we are able to actually check this. We can't finish it without the hook shot. But I like this check a lot, and it is a little risky. There's only the few items in the front are really slow to get. But with everything else we've checked, you got to take a risk somewhere. And if you're not doing this dive into Misery Mire, you're doing something like heading up to Catfish. And that just feels awful. So Walther, front of Misery Mire, Furium just about to head to the back, and Will Korek is going to go check the back chest of Escape. All right, this is interesting. This is one of the few chests we have not seen. All right, Korek, is this going to pay off for you? This is the room for it. Oh, Gem finds the fire rod in Misery Mire. But Korek finds the hook shot!
Oh no, oh wow.
Oh my goodness!
So, yeah, another hint tile had told us that, what do you call it? Left side swamp was useless, so the fire rod had to be within these first, few chests on the right side. And, yeah, hookshot has apparently been available for a really, really long time.
Oh my goodness. That's huge for Korek, because hookshot has to point him also now towards doing Misery Mire, where he's going to find the fire rod.
Swamp, but
Or,
yes.
sorry, Swamp Palace, yes. Look,
Yeah, I think
Swamp...
that's actually possibly why everyone was holding off on Swamp for so long, is because they wanted to find that hookshot to do it all in one shot, not having to do the water cutscene to get in it twice.
Yeah, a huge waste of time. But also, in my defense, Swamp Palace is full of misery. It is awful to have to full clear that place.
Also, Misery Mire is located in a swamp, so...
Yep. Thank you, Nintendo, for those namings. We really appreciate it. But man, that's absolutely huge for Korek. He's going to have a much more efficient routing here. And Gem, understandably, with the Fire Rod, is heading right up to Turtle Rock.
Yeah, so for Gem, it's a race to see when he's going to do that dark room chest and escape. That one chest kind of sandwiched in between the two easier to get through areas and escape.
So something happened to Walther while we were watching Korek and Gem, because he's now having to go back through the entrance of Misery Mire. So that's really unfortunate for him. Alright, Furium is going to get his Desert Palace Crystal. So he's not too much behind Korek and Gem if he can decide to find that fire rod next. Though finding that hookshot, of course, is going to be the real frustration for our runners. I just don't see how any of them head back in there until they've exhausted almost everything. It's so out of the way.
Yeah, I might see something more like a, pedestal check. More likely than heading back to the little escape thing, possibly. Just like, at least going up there and checking it because they have the book and reading the thing.
Yeah, actually, yes, because if they find... most of our runners have already done 2 crystals who still need to find both fire and hookshot. So if they find the fire rod first, you can hit clear Mothula for the final crystal, and it's right there. But yeah, so Korek should also be in go mode now. I think it's a little hard to tell with the items, but I'm pretty sure he has everything he needs. Now that he has that fire rod. The easiest way to tell is if he stops opening chests. Alright, Furium's also heading to Swamp Palace, so he's also going to find his fire rod.
Korek, I don't know his personal playstyle, but he might open a few easy chests along the way trying to find another sword. Because he is on Master still.
Yep, that's a very good point. At this point, he's not likely to get whichever one of the 3 we've seen that's missing. It's either going to be the one in Agina's Cave or the one in Skull Woods. I'm not sure which one it was. The final medallion, not something we're actually going to need. And also checking these 3 chests is really fast. Oh, that was silvers.
Oh, that's helpful if he doesn't find another sword. Very helpful.
Yeah, in fact, with that puts him in a really good spot because with silvers and fire rod and half magic, he has all the items he needs to be able to do a very fast clear of the gauntlet in Ganon's tower. And while the Ganon fight will be a little slow, I mean, you can't have everything, right?
Unless you do 100%, no. But this isn't a 100% tournament.
No, 100% randomizer would be interesting. It's already frustrating enough to do the actual 100% NMG route. Excellent double pulls here by Korek to try to speed this fight up. Because with just the Master Sword, this fight's really annoying.
At least with silvers, the actual main body of the boss will just kind of explode.
So Walther does persevere and he gets his... excuse me, his Misery Mire crystal. Unfortunately for him, he lost a lot of time having to both finish, go back through Misery Mire as well as Ice Palace. So he's in a pretty rough spot right now. But if he's able to find that hook shot, that could save him a ton of time. And Chip finds the butter sword.
Mmm. Tasty. We'll have to see if Korek checks that chest going through Turtle Rock here, because it is right there, so...
Yeah, that's actually probably really good news for him. That makes it really likely he'll end up with Tempered. And in fact, actually, with the way this routing's working out, there's a very good chance the rest of our runners aren't going to find silvers. Because by the time they head back into Swamp Palace, they're probably going to be, that'll have been go mode getting the hook shot, and they're just heading straight to the boss.
Yeah, definitely so.
And Korek has to take the walk of shame as he accidentally misses the hook shot over the block. And it looks like that butter sword was the really interesting item in Turtle Rock. So now we're going to get to see Gem do a really fast Helmasaur. Okay, Walter now has his Desert Palace crystals, so at this point he's really just hunting for the hookshot and fire rod, like the rest of our runners were.
Correct being the first here to go through all of Hookshot Gate. We know it's not going to be anything special.
Yep, but again, another one of those really quick checks for trying to fight Tempered.
And yeah, I blinked and you're right, and Trinex is going down very quickly.
Yeah, I think Gem actually got the perfect fight with that and got all 3 hits from behind Cold Stare. Or, Cold Stare? Sure. How about Helmasaur? Not Helmasaur, oh my goodness. The dragon.
This isn't Randomizer. We're not there yet.
Oh goodness. Well, it was one of the bosses, so I'm partially right. Walter's gonna...
Did the thing to finish the boss and get the items to finish the dungeon is now going to go do more stuff.
Exactly. Walter making the reasonable but unfortunately incorrect play to check Pyramid Fairy. Though if he decides to mirror and head into Hyrule Castle, that could be huge for him. He's right there. It's so tough, though, because he hasn't been a Misery Mire yet.
I think he did beat Misery Mire.
Or, sorry, Swamp Palace. Wow,
Palace, yeah.
Yep, I've completely forgotten all the names to everything in this game.
Alright, so I am taking your Discord address, and I'll be sending you a coffee.
It certainly couldn't hurt. Oh, so yeah, so Gem's now stuck in this awkward spot of he's still hunting for the hookshot, so he's going up Tower of Hera. And that's an interesting way to set up that line. I've not seen that before to get that bomb jump. So it's interesting to me that Korek is electing to check some of the more out-of-the-way locations here in Turtle Rock. I kind of expected him to skip those right side fire... Well, actually, no, I guess he needed these. Yeah, that's true. Turtle Rock's a really rough dungeon to be skipping chests in. You need a pretty particular set of key logic for you to be able to skip really much of anything, at least in the front half.
Yeah. You don't want to end up almost at the end and you need a key and then you need to go all the way back to the front and do that fire rod room.
Yeah, that's absolutely horrific. One of the few advantages of doing Key Sanity. Turtle Rock is a lot easier in Key Sanity to skip stuff. And hey, if you like watching Key Sanity, that is, I believe, one of the options for post-qualifiers. Ooh, Walter's getting creative here, and we're actually going to see a check of the Bombos tablet. It's a good time to route it in, assuming he's heading right back into Swamp Palace.
I think someone else checked it as well in sort of the same pathing manner. It's not anything good.
Nope. Yeah, I couldn't remember if someone checked this or if someone checked the Ether tablet. We certainly had seen at least one.
I think Ether had been read, but not checked.
Oh, maybe it was that. Alright, so Walther is, like 3 other of our runners, going to find the fire rod and still be hunting for that hook shot, which we currently know is in the dark room of escape. Yep, Korek just electing to do the full clear here gets the key, so that's good for him. Since he did not steal the key and checked the lava bridge, he will also have to go onto laser bridge to find the final key.
For I'm getting dead rocked here on the way to Turtle Rock.
Those are the worst.
And there's Korek's sword. Probably very happy to find that.
Yep, he has literally every single item you could want at this point. Silver arrows, tempered sword, red mail, 12 hearts. You really can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, just wrap me up in a blanket and call me comfy.
Well, considering it's currently the end of summer, I don't really want to be wrapped up in a blanket, but I can certainly empathize with the sentiment.
You can just turn your air conditioning down all the way and make it artificially cold.
That's an interesting idea. I'll have to consider that. Alright, just one more chest for Korek. This next one has his key. Oh! Well, we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, the laser bridge knows it has the key there, so it's really protecting it.
Wow, this is a spirited defense from the laser bridge. Oh, and he ends up checking the other chest first. Oh, poor Korek. Can't catch a break here.
There we go.
But frankly, he doesn't need much of a break at this point. With his decision to get that hookshot early, he is miles ahead of his competition.
Yeah, Frame being the next one behind him, as he did get hookshot as well.
Excellent catch there. I completely missed that. So Gem is actually heading all the way up to check everyone's favorite catfish. So has Furium finished Swamp Palace yet? I think he still has to do that. But I could be wrong. Wouldn't make much sense for him to be coming up here without having already done that. It's actually fun watching to see where Gem is checking, because we've seen so much of the game. It's interesting to figure out what haven't we seen. And I'm guessing at this point it's Mothula.
Yeah, he's gonna head up and do that Mothula fight back half of Skull Woods and maybe read the pedestal while we're up here as well?
I think he'll actually be able to just pull it. I'm pretty sure he's already done Tower of Hera.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if he's gonna, wait until after Mothula and just do a blind pull, or read it and then change course from there. But
I think when you're an hour 30 into this seed and you're still hunting for that last go mode item, you just have to blind pull it. You can't really, because if it is the item, you waste some time having to run in and out, and if it's not, well, you're already so far behind, you just gotta take the best risk you can. And so at an hour and 29 minutes, Korek is into Ganon's tower.
Yeah, also because, you're an hour 29 minutes in, and you might not have seen a dot done yet.
Yep.
Oh, there's a big key.
Wow, that was fast. Alright, so a quick stop for a key over here, and we'll be able to head up Ganon's tower. Oh hey, is that a green potion? That's nice. Probably won't end up needing that, but it's always nice to have the safety.
Some Mountain Dew for the way up. At least with Butter Sword, Mothula goes down pretty quickly.
Yep, assuming it decides to not just hide in the spike patch. Mothula being an excellently coded boss and cannot take damage when it's touching spikes.
But at least they fixed it in Randomizer that he can take damage from the Buttered Sword.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that in Vanilla. You can't damage him with Butter Sword. Of course, in fairness, I don't think in Vanilla you'd ever have a reason to go to Mothula with the Butter Sword. Alright, blind pedestal pull for a little bit of couch change.
Alright, where to next, Gem?
That's a good direction.
Yep, getting warmer.
Yep, that should be it for him.
Yeah. And Korek smashing their way through the gauntlet very easily with their equipment set.
Yeah, an absolutely commanding lead by Korek. But the important thing to remember here is because this is qualifiers, winning's not the important thing. Putting up consistently good times. So the rest of our runners are still trying to finish as fast as they can to make their odds a little bit better later on. And Gem now has his hookshot at an hour 31. And we should be seeing him head straight for Swamp Palace.
Actually, it's really good that Gem didn't go upstairs instead of downstairs there. Because he could have gone upstairs and thinking, oh, what if it's in the shovel spot?
Oh boy, that would have been a heck of a chain to get that item. I'd completely forgotten that we even had seen Shovel. It was so long ago.
Yeah, it was like the first thing that we saw, and we're like, ooh, hope that doesn't become anything, and luckily it didn't.
Yep, Korek checking Mimic Cave now. I don't think actually, I'm not sure if anyone else even came in here. And Furium is heading up into Ganon's tower as well. So assuming good execution, he should actually be able to put up a pretty good time still, even with that hunt for the hookshot. Oh, and I didn't notice also that they'd gotten the cape there when they got the big key, so just the final piece of safety if for some reason our runners actually needed it. Furium actually might... Yeah. So Furium is heading up into his gauntlet about the time Korek's going to be getting to his second Moldorm fight. He successfully evades the Troll Dorm and is just a little bit away from his Aga 2 fight. Yeah. He had a really good recovery there to avoid going off the bottom of the stairs, but unfortunately they got bipped off the top.
Alright, time for the Geometry Wizard.
And that was a really good triple to start it off.
Nice. 3-1-2.
Yeah, super clean fight. So with all the items in the world now, we are on to Ganon.
At least Gem has a pretty easy Argus fight here with Buttersword.
Yep, just waiting for it to get through its invisible animation with all the puffs dead. Beautiful
Yes.
double fire rod.
Since he's totally in go mode here. He didn't pick up the silvers. Is the only person only person that's been this far so far that didn't pick that chest up.
Yep, very understandable. It's really nice doubles out of Korek. Ganon was in a perfect position for doing that phase of the fight. Yep, and Korek, having grabbed a potion earlier, is in no danger to finish off this fight. Alright, and that should be on to Phase 4, as Furium is almost done with his gauntlet, and Gem is heading up to to Ganon's tower.
A little bit out of line there for getting the torches, but no problem.
Yep, with double magic, it doesn't really matter.
They are synced a little bit weird now, so that's a only off thing. But hey, double at the end, the big pig explodes.
Yep, and now he just has to remember to not walk off the ledge. Which he successfully does. So let's get some GG's for Korek, our first of the Restream runners to finish. Furium is also displaying some good knowledge of geometry, he gets the triple as well. Three, two, one for Furium. Yeah, Walther's unfortunately still hunting for that hook shot. He's doing everything that he's missed, doing it in the best order he can. That hook shot was just in a really unfortunate position. Alright, so Furium is now onto his Ganon fight. Let's see if he can have as clean of a fight as Korek did. He's only going to finish a couple minutes behind. That's really impressive, especially for how long it took him to find boots. So as Furium was starting his gauntlet, as Korek was doing his Ganon fight, so too is Gem doing his gauntlet as well. Right, excellent first phases out of Furium, and now he's off on his phase 4 as well. A nice double. And that'll do it for Furium.
Oh, very nice.
Looks like Walther has figured out that it's hiding somewhere in Escape, though it looks like he still has to do the first part of it before he'll get back to that dark room. Yeah, a pretty crazy seed considering how this started out with so many items right at the beginning, but yet at the end we had all of our runners hunting for some very trolly items.
Yeah, and we do have Korek joining us here, so I will pull him in.
Excellent.
Hello, Korek and GG.
Thank you. GG.
Yeah, congratulations, Korek. You did an excellent job there to navigate what turned out to be a pretty tricky seed at the end.
Yeah, my strategy for qualifiers is, just efficiently hundo, and I'll get there, and it seems to work out. I mean, particularly for this tournament, they drop your best result, so it really isn't much value in trying to skip stuff and win. It's just be as efficient as possible and finish the seed.
Yeah, we were discussing earlier how it's a different sort of mindset when you're playing against a group versus one other person. So it looks like, just from what chat was saying, they got 8th overall in the race.
Yep. Yeah, and this is my 3rd race, and I was, I think, 7th or 6th or something before this. So I mean, I think I've set myself up pretty well.
Well, certainly if you can manage to find as hidden an item as that hook shot, you're in a pretty good spot. So a fun thing that actually happened on stream at the exact same time you found that hook shot, Gem was the first to find the fire rod.
That's pretty funny. I wondered. So the hint was it was behind Hammer, and at that point it was Spike Cave or Swamp Palace. And since we knew what was in left side of Swamp, there was exactly one chest in Swamp that it was available without the hook shot, and I guess it turned out it was there. So.
Yep, man, that big key chest.
Well, I guess there's 2 if you get the big key, but yeah.
Yeah. But so other than that, as way back at the beginning of the run, you guys got a ton of items in Kakariko. How'd that feel? What were you thinking then?
It really does make it interesting. My strat is to just try to put together routes that will minimize backtracking. So it was a little bit tricky. I think I did Hype Cave, and I did South Shore, and then I did the Hype Cave route, and then I did Eastern, I think. I just trying to piece together things that would not, like, there would never be a more convenient time to do them. And that I'm glad I did Ice Rod Cave when I did, because I already had put those boots off a little bit, but I got them pretty soon, relatively speaking.
Yeah, no, you did an excellent job with all that. You weren't ever really a lot of items. You weren't necessarily the first to, but all of your routing was excellent, and you were never really behind anyone at any point.
Yeah, I'm not generally in a rush. I'm just trying to say, okay, here we go. We can do everything in this area. Let's just go there and do it. And then, Thieves Town was fully clearable within a couple minutes, but there really wasn't a great reason to rush there without the mitts, because there was a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, there definitely was.
And then the one maybe out there play I made was going to desert without a fire source, but once I got those boots and I had the book already, I kind of figured there might be something important in the front part, and it turned out I was right, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, logically it worked out that I think it was a mandatory double dip into desert to get that mirror. Because with the lamp being hidden up on Death Mountain, you had no other way to get that, and the hook shot is technically locked behind something that requires the mirror. Or the fire, the lamp, so you could get into the dark part of escape.
Yep, so I mean, no big mistakes. I did a bunch of extra stuff, but that's kind of my strategy in these, and it's working out so far.
Yep, so brief moment. So Gem is currently on his 4th phase of the Ganon fight, but of course he does not have silvers, so he is having to do butter sword spin strats. But he's doing an excellent job with it and should be down in just a second here.
Yeah, I did get the torch glitch, and there it goes.
Yeah, an excellent job by Gem, finishing 8 minutes behind Korek, despite how long it took to find that stupid hook shot. So, Korek, you have any other thoughts on this run today?
No, that's it. I'll step aside here. I just want to say thank you for your commentary and for the restream. And I guess the trackers had a little bit of technical issues, but appreciate them anyway. And GG's to everybody in the race, and good luck in the tournament coming up.
Yep, GG Korek, thank you so much for the entertaining race.
Thank you.
All right, so Gem does get it down, and Walther is continuing to make his way. He's got his final crystal now, so he should be heading up to Ganon's tower in just a second as well. Yeah, it's quite impressive that we've had, with Furia finishing just a couple minutes behind and Gem a little under 8 minutes behind. That's a very good job by our runners navigating that really tricky bit at the end.
And speaking of Gem, hello, Gem. How did you feel about this seed?
Well, I guess the seed was okay if you aren't too lazy to go into the dark sewers when you do escape. Yeah, that kind of sucked that I skipped hookshot. I was legit just kind of too lazy at first, and then I completely forgot about it. And yeah, later on, I was actually just going to escape to do Aga to get the shovel. And you might have noticed that I was already charging my dash towards Aga and before I realized that I hadn't done sewers yet.
Yeah, I caught that, and I was like, oh, that would have been a big oof if Gem had gone upstairs instead of downstairs.
Yeah, and oh well.
It's tough, though, to want to go back to do that Dark Escape chest, because the time you were in Escape, I don't think you had the lamp yet, and that's just an annoying chest to have to walk to in the dark.
Well, if I had had a sword, it wouldn't have been too bad, but I was
That's
still
true.
swordless. Which was the main reason I didn't want to do it at the time. Yeah. I wish I had, but it doesn't really matter.
No, I mean, all things considered, despite how tough that was to find that hookshot, you still did a very good job of routing everything in, and you still put up a pretty reasonable time. All things considered.
Yeah, I guess it's not too bad.
And hey, that's the point of qualifiers. Your best and your worst go away. Not the
Yeah.
end of the world. But so a fun moment that happened in this race, you were the first runner on our stream to pick up the fire rod. And literally a second later, Korek picks up the hook shot.
That's pretty good.
So we were and then everyone else ended up following your routing decision to head into a Swamp Palace first.
Yeah, that's why you have the hookshot, and you know that fire rod is hammer locked, so it's very likely it's either in a swamp or in Spike Cave or in Turtle Rock. And I was just kind of hoping that hookshot would be behind fire rod. So I decided to go into swamp, and if it didn't end up in like the first two chests because I knew left side had trash from some other hint.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just gone into Turtle Rock because that would have been the last place left.
Yep. But so way at the beginning of the seed, back by 10 minutes, you guys had a ton of stuff coming out of Kakariko Village. How did that affect like your early game routing?
Well, I don't know. I just did everything except escape, I guess. Doesn't really affect my early game routing too much, except when I get flute, I just flew to Sahasrara right away. Didn't amount to much in this race, but it has helped in races before.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was curious about that because you were the first person to get there by a considerable bit of time. And then did that also then help you decide to go check Ice Rod Cave?
Well, I don't know. I just don't like skipping it early.
Gotcha. So you got to Ganon with Butter Sword, but no silvers. Silvers actually were in Swamp Palace, I think the last chest before the boss. But of course, you were in
the
go mode at that point.
waterfall room chest.
Nice.
But I assume for you, doing Butter Sword Ganon is really not that big of a deal.
Well, no, but they would still save a solid 20 to 30 seconds.
So other than that, did you have any other thoughts about the race or where you're at with the rest of the qualifiers coming up?
Well, I mean, not really, but I think I'm still in good shape. Well, like you said, best at worst race, get dropped, but even then, I think this time is enough to like get among the top 96. So I'm not too worried.
Yeah, and I think with still being able to put up a time with this on what was really a difficult seed to route at the end speaks very well for your chances getting through the rest of the rounds. All right, Jem. Well, if you've got nothing else, thank you very much for your entertaining race and for coming and talking. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for commentating in general.
Yeah, of course, GG.
And yeah, GG Korek, who's in here. And yeah, see ya.
GG, Jim.
Alrighty, so Walther is almost done with his gauntlet, and he's going to be finishing up here in just a little bit. He's had a rough time of it. That hook shot was not kind to him, and he had a couple other unfortunate things with Ice Palace and Misery Mire, but he is almost on his way.
Yeah, also unfortunate, he did go left side first in Ganon's tower and checked up through the they're not Skulltulas, the skeleton guys, that room,
Yeah.
and then mirrored out and checked right side.
Yep, it's a strategy you'll see a lot of people do. Unfortunately, this time it just didn't work out with Ganon's big key being in either the first or second chest you open.
Stalfos, they're called Stalfos. Ended up with a lot of keys though, so didn't have to farm for a key
Oh, geez, yeah.
after all that.
Yeah, 3 keys to spare, or well, 2 to spare, I guess. He still has to go through one more door. Yeah, I think Walther's going to end up probably having our highest item checked rate of anyone. This is one of those things where when you have so many options and you're just hunting for a single item, there's a lot of plays that are equally viable. It's just unfortunate when it ends up not. But thank you, Walther, for showing us the last chest, since no one else wants that stupid thing.
It would have been nice if it was Sankart. I don't know if Sankart was picked up at this time, but that would have been a nice little refill there if it had happened.
I think we saw it really early in the run, but I'm not positive. Either way, off to some geometry. Because school is in session and we need to see if you know your math. Nope, hookshot's not going to do a whole lot there, unfortunately. Nice double there, and he should have just 1 or 2 more to go.
There we go. Gets a little easier the longer it goes on because I think it gets easier the longer it goes on because they become out of sync. So it's a little bit easier to move around and smack back those shots. Although, if you're trying to dodge them, then it could be a little bit tougher. But hey, we're on to Ganon, and he's got butter and silvers. So this should be, blink and you miss it type of fight.
Exactly. Yeah, and with that Aga too, it can get easier, though, if they do start to get really desynced, if the 2 clones start spawning in before Aga spawns in, that can be a really frustrating fight. Yep, already into phase 2. Man, that butter sword just makes short work of Ganon. Nice hook shot to dodge the fires, and that should be on to phase 3. Firebat doesn't want to quite cooperate with him, but no big deal. As long as he doesn't hug Ganon, he should be fine. And we are on to phase 4. Good positioning for Ganon to get another hit in.
And good timings on the sword strike, so he's not spitting out fire bats. But of course, the lights go out at the most inopportune times.
Yep, but excellent job for him to dodge, and that should be his Ganon fight. And with that, Walther does finish up his seed. So with that, all 4 of our runners are done. So please give out another GG to all of our runners, because without them we couldn't have this super entertaining broadcast.
Yeah, GG's all around for a very interesting seed in the end.
Yeah,
I think some of those hints made or broke the seed, I think.
Definitely. The hint for where Quake was absolutely massive for putting everyone to Ice Palace early, which you normally wouldn't see. And the hint to not do left side also really saved people a lot of time in Swamp Palace.
And we'll be joined by Walther here. GG.
Thanks, yeah. GG's to everyone. So, yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah, GG, Walter. I mean, he had a bit of a rough time there at the end, but yeah, that hookshot did not do you any favors.
Yeah, not really. I got really psyched out by one of the hint tiles as well. The one in Ice Palace about the fire rod.
Yeah, fire rod being behind hammer. It's a kind of an interesting hint that I think it's one of those where you think it can be a lot more locations than it actually kind of is technically, judging by how it's coded.
Yeah, I was planning on like just going straight to the boss and just picking up the chest on the way as a gamble, and then after I left the Ice Palace, I was like, wait, there's chests in Ice Palace that are locked by the hammer.
Yep, it's an unfortunate thing. As it turned out, Korek was actually the first of this 4 to find the hookshot. He found it at the same time Jem found his fire rod. So the rest of you all found fire rod, and then we're still hunting that hookshot.
Yeah, there was a lot of things in Sphere 1 and 2. Like, more or less everything you needed.
Yeah, especially with how bountiful Kakariko was at the beginning of the game. It's kind of hard to believe that this seed turned into such a scavenger hunt at the end.
Yeah, it happens. Hopefully this is gonna be my worst time, so they're gonna take away the best and the worst times, right?
Yep, they will, and that's certainly something to keep in mind. And that is the beauty of these qualifiers things. Yeah, this race didn't go the best, but that's okay, because you still have plenty more to go.
Yeah, they're fun so far. I hope they keep going like that. The group stage, like the format for the group stage, seems super interesting.
Yes, it definitely does. And while a seed like this wasn't necessarily the most fun for you to have to run, it was certainly a lot of fun for us to commentate.
Yeah, that's one of the most open beginnings I've seen in a while in terms of it throwing a bunch of items at you and saying, here, you have 6 hearts, now go have fun.
Yeah, I didn't think too much about the hearts, except for doing Spy Cave. I barely had enough to do that with sequence breaking it.
That was super fancy, by the way. I really enjoyed that. I hadn't seen the bomb strats for Spike Cave before, and it was really good.
I almost failed it because I mistimed a few of my dashes.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. You saving yourself there right at the end with that last bomb. Like, I've seen a lot of A Link to the Past. I hadn't seen that before. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I can thank Christos for that, because I did his Kaizo recently. You had to do like Spike Cave with 6 hearts or something.
Oh, jeez. That's awful. That is so cruel. Well, Walter, do you have any other final thoughts on the seed?
Not really. It's been fun so far. I hopefully do better in the future, but thanks for commentating and the trackers, and it's nice to have the tournament kicking off again.
Yeah, GG to you, and thank you so much for your run. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks. GG's to everyone in this race.
All right, and with that, I think it is about time for us to wrap up this broadcast. Don't worry, we still have tons of Randomizer to go. We should be having another race tomorrow. Do you happen to have the time in front of you?
Yep, tomorrow at starting 4:15 Eastern time for the around that time for the stream to start, and there's going to be again, just like today, 2 showings of it. So one's going to be on ALTTP Randomizer, and one of them will be on one of the speed gaming channels. So you can, if you have 2 monitors, you should watch both of the streams and watch 8 people race, and just have the commentary on one, because I think having like all the commentary would be a little bit overkill. But yeah, looking forward to seeing the last bits of, not last bits, but these qualifiers continuing and seeing how this all shakes out in the end.
Yeah, definitely. We've still got a couple weeks to go for this, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So again, give a big shout out to our runners, Jem, Korek, Furium, and Walther. Without them, we wouldn't have this excellent race, and we won't be able to share with you all this great entertainment. So on behalf of everyone here, I've been Emlyn.
And I'm Karaoke, and our trackers today were literally Jen and Reg. Little few issues with the tracker system, but thank you all for holding down the fort back there and keeping track and chat and whatnot for us to help everything out. So everybody enjoy the rest of your day, and swing by tomorrow for some more randomizer action.
Yep, have a good one. You all. We'll see you next time.